What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Underestimated Podcast. It is your host, Jeremy. I'm back with another episode, and welcome back to another episode of Sand Strike Sundays. In today's episode, we're going to be diving into a strong road win for USCB against a USCB men's team against Flagler, picking up a 83-80 victory over the Saints. So yeah, let's run it. So this game pretty much was a great example of resilience, team basketball, and balanced scoring, and it really tells a bigger story about who this team is. As you know, they were pushing toward um, the latter part of of the season. So let's start with the big picture, right? This was an important bounce back win for the Sand Sharks. Obviously, as y'all can see with the title, it was a bounce back win where you take a tough loss in the previous game beforehand to Lander, and then now you jump right back into conference play and you pick up a pretty pivotal win to keep you afloat. So not only did they get back in the win column, but they improved to a record of 18-8 overall and 12-6 in conference play. And so on the other side of things, right, you got Flagler who dropped to 15-10 after that game, and then 9-8 in the conference. So this wasn't just any win, it was a key conference matchup with real implications. I think what stood out to me immediately in this game was, or looking back at this game, is the phrase balance scoring, right? And that's just not a buzzword. This team had 11 different players scoring that game. And that's immediate. That's extremely rare for a team to do, and it just goes to show you how deep, this USCB roster actually is, right? And so it was it wasn't about one superstar taking over, and it never really has been all year because that's just not how they play, nor that's not how they're coached or how they are just built. It was about contributions across the board. When you can get that many players involved offensively, it makes it makes you incredibly difficult to defend because opponents just can't key in on one or two people. They gotta key in on everybody that is on the floor. And so even with that balance, they were still key contributors who stepped up. You had Nolan Paladugu, who led the team with 15 points, and then showing his efficiency and his confidence, especially from beyond the arc, where you know his game is more than just a 3-point shot. But obviously, I think it's safe to say that that's where he specializes. And so we had our senior captain Kevaughn Price, who added in 12 points, and then our um, pretty much crunch time killer and Evan Kilmister, who chipped in with his 11 points. So while the scoring was spread out, those three players pretty much anchored the offense, so to speak, and gave the team consistent production when it mattered the most. Another guy who I think definitely deserves more attention in this game um, in particular, is Dylan Lewis. Dylan is one of those guys who you just gotta watch him to really understand and grasp how much he impacts the game, because the stats are not gonna jump out to you. But if you actually watch him play, he affects the game in so many ways. And so he didn't lead the team in scoring, but he put up the stat sheet, with 8 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists. That kind of all around performance is huge in a close game like this, right? So he impacted the game in multiple ways: scoring, rebounding, facilitating, which is exactly what you want from a versatile player like himself. Now let's sort of like walk through how this game actually played out, because it wasn't easy. And it's never easy. Like I said, I continue to say that, I strongly believe that the Peach Belt Conference in NCAA Division II men's basketball, well, basketball period, men's and women's basketball, it's like the equivalent to the SEC in Division One. And so Flagler came out strong. They did come out strong and set the tone early, even building a lead in the first half. And at one point, they were up by as much as 8 points, leading 33 to 25. That shows that USCB didn't just cruise to this win; they had to fight back and earn it. And that's the thing that we're willing to do. Like we've done a great job all year of just adjusting. Um, we have games where we start off slow. We have games where we come out swinging. But eventually, we can sense, how to adjust based off how we start off. So by the time halftime hits and we come back out for the second half, we're pretty much ready to go. I think the turning point here in the first half came during a huge run by the Sand Sharks. I mean, they sparked a 12-0 run, with Dylan Lewis pretty much at the forefront of that, who hit back-to-back three-pointers, um, which pretty much, started off that 12-0 run. And that completely shifted the momentum of the game. I mean, during that stretch, multiple players contributed, including, upperclassman forward Hudson Norton, who knocked down a key three-pointer to give USCB the lead. And then that run, I think that run is a perfect example of what makes this team dangerous. They're dangerous in many ways, but it wasn't just one player catching fire. It was multiple players stepping up in a short span. And they hit four threes during the span. And that shows their ability to stretch the floor and also score very quickly. Because we're a very fast paced team. And we want to speed you up on both ends of the floor because we want to, obviously tire you out. Because I think we have pretty well conditioned guys to where, and with the way that, our substitution pattern works, we keep guys relatively fresh so that in any moment we can throw any five out there and they'll be fully energized and ready to go and ready to produce. So by halftime, right, USCB had taken control. I mean, we were leading 45 to 42. And what was even more impressive is how efficient, we were offensively in the first half, shooting over 53% from the field. And, that kind of efficiency combined with ball movement and balanced scoring is a recipe for success. In the second half, the game stayed pretty tight. Flagler didn't go away. They did not go away. I mean, it's like we kept throwing the haymakers and they were just throwing the jabs. They were just trying to stand and fight because I mean they kept it competitive the entire game, and that's what makes this win even more meaningful. It wasn't a blowout where everything went right. It was a grinded out game where execution down the stretch mattered. And that brings us to the closing moments. In a game that ended 83 to 80, every possession counts. The Sand Sharks were able to score um, at a pretty high efficient rate and able to secure a crucial defensive stop late in the game, which ultimately sealed the victory. And that defensive execution shows discipline and composure under pressure, something that separates the good teams from the great ones. Now let's kind of connect this performance to what the stats sort of will tell you. From the box score, you can see how efficient players like Nolan was when he shot over 50% from the field and hitting multiple three pointers. Because I mean, once that dude gets hot, man. Well, I mean, I can say that for anybody on that roster. Though anybody gets hot, it's gonna be a long day for any of whoever we're playing. And you talk about Kev. Kev also contributed with efficiency, and the team overall just showed strong shot selection and ball movement. So it was just an all around great game for USCB. I think that another thing that sort of stands out to me statistically is how many players contributed minutes in production, right? This wasn't a short rotation, it was a full team effort. That depth is going to, you know, be extremely valuable as the season continued, and especially in conference play, right? And potential postseason scenarios where fatigue and injuries absolutely become factors that are extremely vital and important. When you look at this team's identity, it's clear that, you know, we rely on three main things, you could say, right? Depth, shooting, versatility. We can beat you in a multiple, in multiple ways, in multiple facets. If one player has an off night, we got plenty more that can pick up the slack. It's always next man up mentality. Other guys are more than capable to step up in whatever role they need to. If the inside game isn't working, we can hit from the outside. And defensively, they show they can get stops when it matters the most. This game also, I would say, highlights the importance of momentum swings in basketball. That 12-0 run in the first half, they didn't just change the score, it changed the energy of the game. It gave USCB confidence and forced Flagler to sort of have to play from behind. In close games, those runs are often the difference between winning and losing. And so, as you may be looking forward, looking ahead, this win um, was a huge turning point for USCB. I think, talking about snapping the losing streak on the road against a solid conference opponent, that absolutely builds confidence. And it sets the tone pretty much for you for the rest of the season. Because at that point in time, there's not that many games left. I think after this, it was like 2 games left. So it shows that this team can handle adversity and respond the correct way, the right way. And from a coaching perspective, this game is exactly what you want to see. I mean, players executing the game plan, sharing the ball, stepping up in key moments, and finishing strong defensively. It reflects preparation, discipline, and trust in the system. And as someone who thankfully, gratefully, and appreciatively has gotten a chance to be around those guys all year, I can absolutely vouch for all those things. They prepare like no other. I mean, they work every day, day in and day out. Um, they are very disciplined. I mean, obviously, I hang with them outside of practice, and you know, they understand the big picture and understand how they have to, what standard they have to hold themselves to off the court, and how to carry and conduct themselves off the court. And as far as trusting in the system, I mean, I think if you just watch the way that they play, that let alone should tell you and show you that they absolutely trust in the system built here at USCB. Like I said before, this wasn't just about an 80-83 win. It was a statement. It was a statement. A statement about depth, resilience, and team first basketball. The Sand Sharks showed that they don't need one player to dominate. They can win as a unit. And if they continue to contribute like this and play like this with balanced scoring and strong defense, I mean, they're going to be a tough matchup for anyone in the conference. And it's funny because it's technically my first year here, so when I got here, I'm sort of filling everything out. But actually, once I knew that I was going to be coming to USCB, I sort of started following every sports team that they had that I had interest in working with from the moment that I, mentally knew I was coming here. And so I started following the basketball team pretty much the entire second half of the regular season on to the conference tournament. And last season Flagler seemed like their superior team in the conference. So like I come here and I'm like, all right, well, Flagler's gonna be tough and circled on the schedule for me. And Just go to show you the fluidity in this conference because they weren't bad by any stretch of the imagination this year. But they just weren't like to me, just from what I observed all season. No team really no team really looked superior. Like I understood after playing Lander that they were on a different level this year. They just had it. Um, but I didn't really think outside of Lander that any team could really hang with us. Like if we just talking rolling the ball out AAU style and playing basketball with talent for talent, then I think we got it. But I mean, there's plenty of aspects that go into a basketball game that can propel you to a win or derail you to a loss. I mean, it's just that's just how the game works. So it was a big win. I mean, they got some guys. One dude in particular I remember the most, Melvin Teal. He can play. I gotta admit, he's the guy that sort of stuck out to me. For Flagler, he's got a nice game and he's strong, physical, big guard. I mean, kind of reminds you somewhat of like a Desmond Bain. And I mean, that's the thing though. I can say with us, you know, we aren't one of those teams that are afraid or rattled when it comes to physicality. We embrace it and we return it, we reciprocate it. We're not afraid of it at all. And Flagler is a physical team, and Melvin Till in particular, like he absolutely uses his strength, his size, and his body to his advantage to try to, you know, play bully ball. But we're not a team. We're just not a team that is gonna back down and allow you to do as such. So definitely was proud of them for this win, and you know, it's different when it's conference play. You go through little battles here and there, but it's pretty much war when it's a conference game. So those conference wins, they feel a little better than just my non-conference win. All wins feel great, but those conference wins they just feel better. Um, so yeah, just great all around game for my guys. It's funny because this episode was technically already supposed to be out, um, but what I did is I don't know how I made this mistake. It's my first time ever doing this mistake. So the last episode was talking about the women's team defeating Lander, and then I also turned around and talked about the guys' team losing to Lander, which was what I was supposed to be doing. That I was supposed to be talking about their bounce back win against Flagler, as I've done in this episode. But yeah, um, so two more episodes to go. I think we talking about. I think Clayton State is left with the girls next, and then we cap things off talking about the guys' last regular season game against North Georgia. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It's actually funny. Actually, made me feel pretty good the other day. I ran into a couple of the basketball players in the caf while I was eating. I think I was eating breakfast. Um, and one of the dudes came up to me and was like, "Yeah, man, I watched your Sanctuary Sunday episode from I guess the previous week," and he was like, "Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I appreciate what you had to say about me." It made me feel good because I mean, of course, it's not it's this is sort of to educate, show how well I can analyze a game, and but it's also for them to let them know that I see them and I'm analyzing. I'm just trying to do everything that I can to help them out. So I'm glad that they are appreciative and respect what I'm trying to do for them. You know. So yeah, that made me feel pretty good, and it also obviously pushes me to keep finish this thing out strong. And I might even bring it back next year for my senior year. We'll see. I definitely want to do right by it. And I definitely want to, because the vision that I had for this, I didn't really stick according to plan. It kind of just was diminished. But that's on my part. That's my fault. I had everything I needed to do it, just didn't get it done, and that's okay, because I still got one more shot to do it. So the intent is that it will happen next time. So we will see. But I'm gonna get up out of here. I appreciate y'all tuning in. If y'all haven't, go watch the regular schedule episode from Friday, where I got to interview Ohio State club football player Nathan Javaria. It was awesome sitting with him and chopping it up with him. So if you haven't seen that, go check that out. Always remember, don't underestimate, appreciate. Go.